Black men and Trump. That's the name of the topic, but it's really, all right, so let's talk about what this is about. The support from black men last night. All right, so let's go back to 2008. What happened in 2008? Got a black man on the ticket, Barack Obama. 95% of black men who voted for Obama in 2008. Okay, pretty high number. Fast forward 4 years, he's running for re-election. 87% supported him then, so it's kind of gone down a little bit. Go forward 2016, for Hillary, 82% supported Hillary. And as of last night, these numbers aren't final, because numbers still coming in, but 80%. So that trend is obviously going down from 95%, 12 years ago, to 80% now. Compared to black women, and I mentioned because there's a discrepancy between the way black men and black women vote. So those same years, and 96% for Obama in 2008, 96% again for Obama in 2012, for Hillary, 94%, and for Biden, 91%. So black women have been supporting the Democratic Party at a higher rate than black men. But the more significant part of that is the dwindling of support for Democratic Party by black men. So, Sledge, you seem to have a lot of opinions in this area, so I'll kick it off to you. Why is that? What do you think best explains that dwindling support? Look, granted, Obama is Obama, right? First black man in history, whatever. So the people got to come out and draw the first time. But why have we seen that number go from 95% now to 80% over the course of 12 years? What's the best explanation for that?
Well, I'm a graduate of Morehouse College, and we are proud. We're a proud group of men. So amongst our circles, there is we have a tendency to tap into our intellectual side. So that being said, the way that the government is set up right now, we have been not well represented. Even when we had Obama in office, a lot of educated black men will say, well, Obama really did not do much for the black male or the black people in general, right? And then the opposition to that is, well, the Senate was, heavily Republican, so his hands were tied. He couldn't pass a lot of the initiatives that he wanted. But was the black agenda at the forefront of his presidency? And then now, moving fast forward, Trump gets elected, and then you start seeing stuff like, with HBCUs, he gave them a 10-year deal where they don't have to come begging for money on a yearly basis, right? And then you start seeing things like prison reform being done, although slow, but you still see movement towards that area. So now let's say from a black person in Africa looking at that just on a statistical basis, right? You have all these presidents before that had not made such concessions specifically to the black community. So now those that are into policies and into facts and numbers, they'll look at that and say, okay, well, although he is doing all this racial divide and he's divisive, there still has been some concessions made, and that he did not have to do, correct? And we had Democratic presidents in office who had not made those concessions. And matter of fact, Bill Clinton, 3 strikes, you're out. That was one of the toughest presidents on the black community. right? So you have all these numbers and all these histories to show, and you know, if you're an intellect, you have to sit down and analyze the numbers and say, wow, okay, so he's a bigot, but this bigot did this specifically for the community. So how do you answer that? So I think that's what you're starting to see, where, you know, if you're from a black family and your cousin Day Day was in jail, and then due to Trump's reform policy,
why is it always Day Day? Every time we use that stereotypical black person, it's always Day Day or Bonquisha. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, so that's what you're seeing around the country right now.
All right, so
and, you know, same with, you know, Hispanics and other voters. Now, I'm not claiming to be a Trump supporter.
Sound like it.
I consider myself independent. I consider myself independent. I vote on policies that are best for me and my family. You know, ultimately, this election, although I leaned towards Trump initially at the beginning due to some policies that were favorable to me as a businessman, but ultimately I ended up voting for Biden because when I looked at certain policies that specifically targeted Haiti and just immigration and how that impacted my family, I had to think about, as an immigrant, if those policies were in place at the time I was trying to immigrate to America, then maybe I don't become this successful person in life.
So before I kick it off to, especially for rebuttal, I'm just picking people. I think, and the answer you gave just now, you know, there were a lot of holes in it, and when I say that, I mean, I think there is a gap between what people understand who does what, right? For the HBCU thing, a president has absolutely zero control over budgets. Zero. The power of the purse lies with Congress. So any allocation of budget to X, Y, and Z, that's Congress. Congress can say, you know, we're giving X amount to, you know, this fund, or, you know, this to HBCUs, and actually when it comes to a president, when they make their budgets, they're saying, this is what I would like. These are my priorities. And then Congress said, okay, here's what we're actually going to do. In what Trump outlined that he wanted to do, his funding for HBCUs were actually down. So it was Congress who said, you know what, here's what we're actually going to do. So there's that's one. But because Trump is who he does, he misrepresents everything.
The president is who gets to claim the rights.
No. Hold on. So I think there is a misconception there. Also, there's another thing where you talk about, if you look at the funding that, say, Obama versus Trump, the Obama administration and the Congress at the time allocated HBCUs, it's a very, very minuscule difference between both. So it's not like Trump came and gave them the farm and Obama was, you know, holding back. For one, it wasn't his money to give, but it was very little difference between the two. And also, you have to consider the conditions under which both took office, right? Obama took over office in the time of the worst recession since the Great Depression. So all this money wasn't around to just do all these things you want to do. The priority was, we're just trying to not sink the thing into a global depression. So that was the priority. It's easy to go back and say, okay, this person gave, but versus when Trump took over, he took over in the most favorable of economic times, like 60 something consecutive straight months of job growth. Everything was booming when Trump took over. So they took over at different times. So you have to consider that. So it's not like Trump just loves the HBCUs so much that he's going to allocate all this money. No, they had different conditions. The First Step Act, right? Again, something of Congress, where the foundation for that bill was actually something that was passed that Obama championed and passed during his term. And and then it progressed to, what it ultimately got signed. So, I mean, those are a bunch of legislative details. What I'm saying is we have to we have to explore beyond the surface. The surface, everything you said just now was the surface shit that Trump sells. He's good. Yeah, I gave all this money to black colleges. I freed all these prisoners. That's what he does.
Chris,
you know what I mean?
Your question was, why do you think the black support from black men has dwindled? So what I've given you is reasons as to why that might have happened. We're not negating the fact that what you're saying is right.
No.
I'm giving you reasons of why.
I just think it's important to correct the record, right? To clarify it. You know what I mean? So look, I hear you. I hear you, and I believe that that's sold enough to enough people that it's like that's easy to make a 30-second commercial saying I did this for black colleges. I freed 20 black people from prison, even though Obama did 1,000 commuted the sentences. But those things are easy to sell. So I agree that those things have an impact. But especially, what do you say, as a fellow black man on the board?
Well, let's make some points that I can talk a little bit about. And one of them, living here, I've experienced is that there are many families, more than you think, that can relate to having people in jail. And over the years, the Democrats have never been very good at letting us out or how they handle black men going to jail. And people remember that. I'm just
if you commit a crime, you go to jail. What's wrong with that?
You know that the system is set up against black men. Chris, don't give me that. A lot of us are going
No. I didn't say that, but let's not act like a lot of these people aren't criminals. These aren't all wrongly persecuted people. Come on now, get serious on that. These aren't all a bunch of wrongly prosecuted people.
A $10 bag of weed gets you 10 years, 15 years in jail.
Yeah, so we can have those conversations, but let's not act like these are all innocent people.
Criminal?
Let's again.
You're Jamaican, tell me. Eh?
No. Again, let's not act like all these people are innocent.
So I don't think the question is whether the people are innocent or not. It is how long they're being held in jail or what the sentences are based on time versus white counterparts underneath those presidents. I think that is the argument. It's not a matter of whether the people are innocent or not. It's like Johnny sold a dime bag and got a slap on the wrist and house arrest, and Day did it, and Day is doing 50 years. I think that's the point.
I agree. Sentencing disparities is a problem, definitely.
Bill Clinton crime bills. Joe Biden's laws that he's penned.
I gotta correct some more records. Go on, finish so I can correct some more.
Has come together collectively to now influence a lot of black men saying, "Hey, my dad has been in jail for 30 years because of Democratic Party."
All right, so again here. This is important to have this conversation because these are all talking points I hear all the time. But it's important, again, to correct the record. All right, so let's rewind back to the 1980s, right? The 1980s, in the midst of the crack epidemic, right? It was a terrible time. I had a whole bunch of friends who were, selling rocks, getting killed, going to jail, whatever, when they were kids. And that's just my little world. But all throughout the community, gang violence because, the Reagan crack epidemic, they get all this crack on the streets and what have you. And it was terrorizing the community. And so at that time, so at that time, the community, the black community, was screaming for action. So you had black leaders in communities, pastors, community leaders, begging for Congress to do something because you had all these fiends, these addicts, you had all this gang violence, you had these body bags all over the place, screaming for action to do something about this epidemic. And so it is out of that environment where the crime bill was passed. And so when that crime bill was passed, people can put it all on Joe Biden now. There were a ton of black people who supported that. There were Democrats and Republicans, black community leaders, black congressmen, who supported this because they wanted action to stop this cancer in the community. So in hindsight, you can look back and say, you know what? These things weren't done right. Hold on now. So we can look back and say these things weren't done right, and we need to remedy it in this way. But when we, like you said, hindsight is 2020, and it gives you the clarity of looking at the mistake. Maybe we shouldn't have worded that way because it had this impact. You have to have those conversations. You have to be able to look at the mistakes that were made in things that you did and say we should change it in this way. That's a productive conversation. But to say that this was some sinister agenda to just lock up black people is not accurate, because again, black community leaders were begging for this. I remember that time.
We think about it like that because our first thought was to lock them up. Just like how Trump is saying. One is saying right now, lock them up. We had very smart people thinking about, reasons to fix the problem and resolutions to the problem. Locking up people that are sick because it's a disease. Being on drugs is a disease. It's not really criminal. It's a disease.
Yeah.
And they should be thinking about more social lines of fixing the problem versus criminal lines of fixing the problem.
Sure,
and I blame our black leaders too for the problem.
Yeah.
Because you should have thinking about trying to heal these people versus just removing them from society.
That's where racism comes in.
Absolutely.
That's because look how they're dealing with the OxyContin thing now. Now they need treatments. Now they think, let's not just lock them up and throw away the key. And because who is, hooked on those, so it's primarily white people. So that's where so yes, of course, there's racism involved here. These things have to be, dealt with. But, let's be honest and clear the record. Leslie, Christmas. Christmas look like you have things to say.
Sure, I had so much. I got to see where I was leaving outside. But yeah, so I agree with the vote was shifted with black men because of, a lot of people are looking at the policies. And the whole thing is people are voting for a leader. Leaders aren't perfect. They want people to lead them. So it's not about a personality. It's not about a party. It's about the policies, the procedures, the systems, and the administration that this leader will put in place. So the vote was swayed because of that. And then look at your boy Trump. He pardoned some of these.
That's your boy. That's Ledger's boy.
He pardoned some of these very people.
Speak for yourself.
Go back on mute.
Speak for yourself, Chris.
Go back on mute.
And they were innocent. So, and a lot of people are looking at how many people did Obama pardon versus Trump.
1,000 versus 20, to be honest, to be clear.
Hey, her and Trump partners because of that. So, you have a lot of people because, I'm a teacher too, and I see the kids who, have talked about their parent being locked up for, so long for things that they didn't do. Whether that's true or not, you don't know, but you do see the pain in the families. And there's a lot of pain in a lot of these minority communities because of bad cops, bad systems, bad policies, etc. It's fact. So
stop selling them rocks.
Black men and minorities were swayed with that. Then you have other topics and other issues. You've got the abortion issue. If you think about it, abortion, if you look at the history, and that's a problem with a lot of our people.
There we go.
We don't go deep. So if you look at the history of abortion, it was based on racism and eugenics to eliminate the Black man out of America. So look it up, Margaret Sanger, because I did.
Yeah, but look at, all right, so here we go. But so I'm definitely going to turn this into an abortion discussion. But
hey, Chris was dropping knowledge, man. I've
heard that before. But look here.
But a lot of people
to get an abortion.
You heard it, but some people haven't.
No, she said it already. But who is forcing anybody to get an abortion? Anyway, we can't have it.
You can go up to the now, and it used to be like a few weeks, and then it was the 5th month. Now you can abort that baby all up to the 9th month.
Well.
So wait.
Yeah.
Is that legal?
Let me
yeah, that's not all completely accurate. It's not.
I want you to dig and come back.
I know. I'm familiar with this conversation. I've had this.
I wanted to comment.
Before.
So based off Leslie's slide, you made a quick comment saying who's forcing anybody to make an abortion. There's so many layers to these things. Why would it be appealing? You got to think about it. Why would it be more appealing for the Black community to go get abortions? Well, you have to think about all the systematic oppression and things we have. We can't afford to take care of these children because of all of the things that may be put in place where they're not able to financially do that. So having an abortion may be more ideal to that young mother in the hood who can't get X, Y, and Z for herself than trying to raise their kid on their own. So there's so many more layers to it than to just say who's forcing you to get an abortion. It could be the situation due to certain laws and policies and things that were put in place to hold that particular demographic down. So there's so many different layers to that.
I agree with that.
The forced, and it wasn't me. I was talking about abortion.
No, that wasn't your comment. It was Chris's. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I didn't say it. It wasn't your comment. I was agreeing.
No. But yeah. So that yes.
Intent. Look at the original intent. Look up Margaret Sanger.
No. Look here. Go ahead.
And buckle that with racism. Buckle that with why some of the people have swayed their vote because of the systems, the policies, the procedures, and administration that they want to see happen.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I don't subscribe to that belief at all. I'm familiar with the abortion is here to get rid of Black people. I don't subscribe to it. I believe no. It's an opinion.
No,
that's your no. All right. So I would have to argue that, but I'm going to settle that here. But there are many layers to it. There are economics associated with that. There is, overall social dysfunction. There are many layers to it. So I don't, so you can't put, a Planned Parenthood center in the hood someplace. That doesn't mean that we're here to eliminate, Black kids. I don't subscribe to that. But again, I'm not really going to have an abortion discussion.
Do not research and dig deep enough to the history. You got to go way back, even I was born, to find the original intent, to see why some of the systems and policies started back then and where they are today and how it affects us now. Things evolve. Things evolve in worse sense.
I've read many opinion pieces about this. I just don't agree with it. I don't.
You don't have to, but the truth is in the history.
How about redlining, Chris? Do you agree? Do you think that is still a factor?
Do I believe redlining? Of course it is. I mean that's of course redlining is that's historic and it's current, of course. Yeah, that's not really debatable. How do we reverse this trend? The dwindling support amongst Black men and the Democratic Party from 95% down to 80%. Is that a problem? For Black people, not for the Democratic Party. Is that a problem? And if how do we reverse this trend?
Well,
or is it necessary?
I definitely think it's a problem, but you know, my views is probably going to be a little bit abstract from you guys. I don't think, especially with the incarceration story that we had a moment ago, I really don't think it's a democratic. I don't care what the laws are. I don't care. I mean, it doesn't. It's not a Democratic or Republican issue, okay? Because the system is designed to keep Black people down. The system is designed. It doesn't matter who's in power. The system is designed to make sure that we're always poor. The system is designed to make sure that we have more single mothers. So this is not a Democratic or Republican problem. So that is a very poor excuse. I think we got to get back to the basics of things, okay? Unfortunately, America is just not for us. We just got to keep fighting as Black people to get where we need to be. It's not a Republican or a Democratic issue, okay? The system is designed to make sure that Black people don't get to where they need to be. So I don't believe in that excuse.
Yeah, so I mean, I think basically, once you have power, it is very difficult to relinquish power. And so if you have power over, if you know, you're in control, you're running things in all sorts of different ways, you're going to put all these bullshit policies like redlining in place to make sure that we have our piece of the pie and they stay within their place. So we can trace that in all sorts, you know, in education, fund how schools are funded, and to where businesses get investment from all across the board. It's basically, we stole power from the beginning when we got here, and ever since then, everything that we've done is to maintain this white patriarchal system. That's what it is. You know, it's not necessarily something against Black people. It's like, we white men have control of this place from jump, and anybody else who is trying to come and take a piece of our pie, we have to put these things in place so that they stay in their lane. So, in going to politics now, that explains the entire rise of Donald Trump. There would not be a Donald Trump had there not been a Barack Obama as president. You had a Black man rise to become president. Even though white people still run everything in the whole freaking country, that was enough for him, Trump. You know, he started on the shit from Obama's president, where he wasn't born here. I need to see his school record, all the shit. He doesn't deserve to be there. He is, I heard about his, they put him on in his Harvard. I've talked to people at Harvard, and he doesn't deserve to be there. So this is that he's been saying this stuff from 2012, right? That he does not deserve to be there. And so his entire appeal is white grievance. That's what it is. And all the people he appeals to, not all, but his core base, we're going to load up our trucks and run buses off the road people. Those are people who he has gotten to believe Black people, brown people, immigrants are trying to take what is rightfully yours as a white man. And so anything that, so I am your savior to keep these Black, brown, immigrant people in their place. So look to me as your white savior. That explains the entire rise of Donald Trump. That explains his base. That's why, he is very popular amongst the white, non-college educated people, because these are people who have seen the economy pass them by. They can't just get by on being a white man anymore when those factories are closing and they don't have the opportunities that they used to have. So here I am as your savior. You know what I mean? So that's where we live. So the sooner we realize that, the better. So this has been a revealing 8 years or 12 years, I would say.